Welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast, the show where aspiring and experienced matchmakers come to sharpen their skills, grow their businesses, and elevate the matchmaking industry. Your host is Arlene Washburn, an award-winning ethical matchmaking advocate, mentor, and industry innovator. Let's dive in.
Previously on the Matchmaker Mentor.
Why circus? Why not something more serious? Like the circus is such a whimsical, unexpected lens for something as serious as relationship compatibility. So why choose a circus as the metaphor, if you will, and not say like archetypes like warriors or sages or even love language or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, what made you go in that direction?
The main reason was I looked at the space. The tent is a metaphor for the world and the various relationships that we all have. We're all unique.
And now, part 2 of the Matchmaker Mentor with Andreas, the match creator.
I love it. I love that. And thank you for saying that, because often when we talk on these shows, they're very heteronormative. But, you know, when you have a framework like this and it's about compatibility and dynamics and all that, I think it's important for it to be accessible to everyone. So thank you for that. Are we going to take everybody out of the suspense?
I can't believe we've nearly done.
Almost at the hour.
Sure, wow.
It's so good because it just shows the seriousness, the thinking behind it, and how you came to do this, and the fact that it works. Because when we first spoke about this system, I thought it was pretty on target, and you know, this could be something that someone might utilize. Like sometimes people want to go into matchmaking and then they go into it and they become order takers, and basically they're interviewing a client that's giving them orders of what they want, and then they're like, okay, yes, and then they go off and do it. And if you're a really good matchmaker, you usually want to have a system that you use to assess compatibility so that you can have success, so people can get married if that's really what they want to do. And so you get people out of the patterns that are not working for them. And if they don't innately have that, because maybe they don't have, you know, people go off their gut, and I have too, but I also use science and research when I was a matchmaker specifically. Some people use astrology, human design. If you don't have a thing, this could be the thing that you use to
I'll give you an example. When I coach people one-on-one, they come with their list. I ask them to put it down. I say, right, can you write down, first homework is jot down all your wants. Okay, easy. Big list. Now jot next to that your needs. And they go, my needs. And I go, yeah. And they go, but isn't that the same? And I say, no, I want you to identify your needs. You identify. I'm not going to tell you. You identify your needs. And then the third column, I want you to tell me what you're offering to somebody else. What are you offering? Oh, but no, it's not the same. They're all different, but I want you to really think about it. Anyway, so that homework's done. I've already asked the circus question. At this point, I can actually tell them what they need, not just what they want. Because the reality is this: we all want amazing. We all want to win the lottery. We all want, you know, I asked this question, so we're going to get lost in a minute and run out of time. But I often say to clients, I said, imagine I could give you any car for free. Any car for free. Pick a car. I'm doing an Oprah now. Giving you a car. What car would you like? What car would you imagine? What car? Just give me a car. And give me a reason why.
I'll take the roles.
All right, you'll start a bit of style. Okay, well, that says something. Now, let me tell you what it says. In reality, I can give you that car, but Arlene, can you afford to maintain it, service it, insure it, and keep it in your neighborhood? Bear in mind, there's a caveat. You cannot sell the car, and you cannot get it. It's your car for life. Does that sound like something you want now? The Rolls Royce, is that something that you'll be happy to have? Now, the reality is you just answered the question. You can afford to maintain it, insure it, and keep it in your neighborhood. The majority of people aim well above what the reality of what they deserve. In other words, if I'm a guy and I want the really hot chick who's high maintenance, I'm asking for trouble, because I'm never going to be able to maintain that girl, that relationship. Now, the analogy works because most guys aim really high. Most guys will say Ferrari, Lamborghini, and they will qualify it with the fastest, it's the most expensive car. And I'll say to them, okay, can you maintain, insure, keep it, whatever? And they go, well, no, you didn't ask me that. And I said, no, but this is what happens in relationships. You see an image on Tinder, you think, oh my God, I want her. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't aim high. In fact, I'm actually saying you should aim as high as you deserve. But the reality soon hits them that what you want and what you need to get around, you need a car to just get you from A to B. Maybe the best car you can afford. Interesting, most women do actually talk about something that's very pragmatic. I just want a simple, maybe an SUV, just to get me to drop the kids off, go to the supermarket, the mail, whatever. And I just want a basic car. You're one of the very few women, bear in mind you're a CEO, you're a trainer, who actually aims high. And that's nothing wrong with that. But if I was
to hear that, because most women date, with a hypergamy, where they want more than, like, their counterpart needs to be more than they are in terms of financials,
yeah,
all that. And
but
that's shifting. That's not available so much anymore.
Yeah, because listen, I find that the majority of men aim high and the majority of women are practical, but they're well within their means. It doesn't mean they don't aim high. They aim within their means, and they justify it by saying, well, I just think it's going to serve a purpose. Now, relationships serve a purpose. If you're aiming too high, it then becomes ridiculously over the top. And if you're a matchmaker and you've got a guy there and he says, I want Victoria's Secret style model and I want this and I want, but if you don't deserve that just by who you are, you don't deserve. I don't mean deserve in the sense of you can't buy it or you shouldn't have it. What I mean is, if you're not compatible, you need to then say, listen, I can still deliver that person, that image that you want, but bear in mind compatibility is a bit deeper than just a visual thing. It's not just a cover. We need to go deeper. So what I do is I teach clients what they need. They ask me for what they want and I give them what they need, but still give them what they want, but teach them along the way. It's the theory of I can give you a meal or I can teach you to cook.
Right.
And that's what I like to do. So hopefully Circology educates people.
Right?
Yeah, so anyway, so the circus question, everybody. Eventually. Yeah, we're getting there. Arlene, viewers, listeners, imagine you're at a circus. Imagine the lights, the sounds, the smells, the fun, the laughter, the thrills, and the suspense. Now imagine you're one of the acts or performers. Which act or performer would you be and why? So have you got an answer for me? Because you know what, I'm going to honestly say I don't remember what you said.
I don't remember what I said, but I think I would want to walk that tight rope, the rope on top.
That rope walker.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't think of the terminology.
Do you know what? It kind of rings a bell that you did answer that last time.
I did? Oh my gosh.
I think you know why? Because
either.
Do you know what it is? This is the funny thing. And I've asked everybody in my circle, and I'm not just talking about friends, family, mum, dad, everybody, because I'm like, hang on a minute. I wonder, because once you start, it's like an itch, you got to scratch it. You start thinking, I asked her, I wonder if I can ask him. And all of a sudden you've got this whole picture in front of you of all these characters. And you can imagine yourself, by the way, I'm ringmaster. And that might be obvious, but I'm ringmaster. But I have those traits of communication, diplomacy, encouragement. I love encouraging people. I love to help people. I love, when I say introducing people, it might be like a matchmaker, but introducing people to Well, actually, I love encouraging people to be the best they can be. So, a ringmaster will introduce the act to the audience and say, ladies and gentlemen, we have blah, blah, blah. And then they'll push the tightrope walker into and go, there you go, off you go, Arlene, do your best. Thumbs up, and you go and perform and you'll be the encourager. But you're also juggling people because, your ego and the fire eater's ego and the lion tamer's ego and the clown's ego, they all want to be the star of the show. So you're managing people. And that's what I enjoy doing. Now, in my relationships, I also need people that are going to be autonomous and stand on their own 2 feet and be the best they can be. So in the past, I've had relationships where sometimes they relied on me too much. They're a little bit too codependent. And as much as I used to like that, it became a problem because I couldn't walk away. They were constantly, oh, where are you going? I'm like, I need to do this. Oh, but you don't give me any attention. We've all been there, yeah? We've all understand. It's not a negative.
And all that good stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, your specific role, tightrope walker. Now, we use the analogy. Tightrope walkers, focus. You're an extremely focused person. You're extremely balanced. In other words, you focus and it keeps you on the straight and narrow. You cannot look left or right without wobbling. Any relationship that causes you to wobble is a big problem. You're likely to fall down. So it gives you anxiety. You need someone that supports you and lets you get on with your show. This is the role that you need. But your act is very much focused on goal orientation. You aim at what you want in life and you go for it. In other words, you're looking at the other side of the ring, you've got your pole and you're walking along and you're blinkered. Because you know what? As much as you've got all this noise coming on, you're very good at deflecting. When you focus, you focus. And that happens in relationships too. And it can sometimes come across as a little bit blinkered. But with the right person, it's the complete antithesis. They admire your qualities and they allow you to shine. And that's the dynamic that you need. Now, I've very quickly paraphrased that, but there are, in the app, there's your positive traits, which includes focus and balance and whatever, that are there, that shine in a healthy relationship. And that's what you need, right? That's the need bit. What you need to avoid are the negative traits that we've all got, which become amplified in a toxic relationship. And I've listed those as well. And I've also identified your love language and your attachment styles. Now, in all honesty, most acts in the circus, if your attachment style, if you're in a happy relationship, you're secure. We all normally are. But when you're not in a happy relationship, you either become anxious or avoidant. And those 2 traits, why I identify, I can't remember yours off pat, but basically that's the Circology diagram, the framework. And I'm looking backwards. You're just at the I think there. I'll tell you what number you are. You are 6.5. Now the numbering is the Circology framework. 6.5 identifies you on the scale of 9 to 1 because it's a polarity spectrum. We all sit on a polarity spectrum of power dynamic in a relationship. The leaders are a higher number. So the leaders that like to lead a relationship, that like to direct their relationship or feel comfortable in being important in that relationship as a leader or as a sharer. Anything above a 7 till 9 wants total control. Lion tamer is a 9. The lion is a 1. The show doesn't work if the lion decides to walk around the ring and just do whatever it wants. Mm-hmm. So in the relationship, the 1 needs to listen to the 9 and take and trust that that dynamic is going to work for them. But the 1 is also looking for consenting to be led by the lion tamer. We're talking dynamics that are consenting. We're not talking abuse here. The abuse happens when a lion tamer is trying to get a tightrope walker to do as they want, but the tightrope walker is like, I'm not doing what you want. I've got my life to lead. And then the tightrope walker starts to abuse that person to do what they want them to, square peg into a round hole. And the tightrope walker, what does the tightrope walker do? Either falls off the rope or actually runs and doesn't come back, doesn't want to know. So the dynamic is important. Your ideal person, your ideal partner is a balanced act. Someone that supports you, because all the balance acts are all about support and sharing. But someone that's strong enough to give you passive support and let you shine. Now, I don't know if you've asked your husband the question or partner the question, but it would be interesting to know if they are that. It doesn't mean that you know, the higher the number doesn't mean it's better.
No, and the question I guess I have is, does this apply in your life across the board, or is this something specific to your relationship? Because I think I agree with a lot of what was said, but I feel like I have a different approach in business versus my relationship. If that makes
Definitely.
sense. Okay.
Definitely.
So how do you make that distinction in this framework? Is that possible? Because, like,
Right.
for example, leadership is something when it comes to business. I actually took a test with a colleague, Dr. Angela Smith. We were at a conference. She's from the UK, actually.
Mm-hmm.
She did a test for everyone who was there, all the matchmakers. We were at a retreat, and it was to check your level of narcissism, or and a few other dynamics. I have very low narcissism because I was raised by a narcissist,
Mm-hmm.
but I had very like overdeveloped leadership skills. So, and it's true because every time I take a job, or when I was working, I would always rise up to some leadership position, and then I was always in charge and responsible, and I was so tired of it, but I kind of was raised to be that way because my mom made me in charge of everything, even though I'm the youngest. So that whole dynamic. But when I'm in a healthy relationship with my partner, I don't want to be in charge of everything. I mean, we're going on vacation.
Yes.
He plans everything. He takes, I'm like,
That's
yes.
it. Exactly.
So
That support that he gives you is that what you need, what you're missing or what you need, he plans it all. And it works perfectly because he plans. If you had to plan that and your work and whatever, you'd get frustrated because you think, well, what are you doing?
I would be so exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where the symbiotic, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't say why it works. You know your relationship. But what I do know, because you're a 6.5, you're not at the narcissistic end. In all due respect, the clowns and the lion tamers are 9s and 8.5s. The knife thrower, the magician, they're the controllers who can be narcissistic. Now, narcissism isn't always negative, right? We're all narcissistic in the sense of we admire our image, we want to look good, we take care of ourselves. To me, that's a polarity in a spectrum as well. Okay. You get the extremes who are abusers, and you get the ones that you could say, well, I identify as a narcissist because I've worn a nice shirt, or I took care of myself, I didn't turn up as a slob. So many different guises of narcissism. Yeah. It's the same as when people say you're confident or you're arrogant. To me, arrogance is confidence without class.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, she had said almost everybody has some narcissistic traits.
Yeah.
But when she saw my results, she's like, and I was very honest. I mean, we're self-assessing, so there's always a question about that. But she's like, I don't see any narcissism here. I just see.
Yeah.
But the downside to not being that way is that typically when you're not as a narcissistic person, you have less boundaries. Because narcissistic people glom onto you because you have very low boundaries, and therefore they want to control and take over and all that. So it takes a level of skill to get to a point where you can express your boundaries. And it took me, into my, I don't even know, I was in my 40s at that conference when she explained that to me, and she's like, you're reliving the dynamics with your that you have with your mom and in your position right now and all this stuff. And it changed my life. I made a lot of decisions. It's going back to 2018, I think it was 2016, I don't remember. But that clarity, which is something that I look at, these systems, getting that level of clarity in your life is so freeing and validating, because then you can make better decisions.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if we look at the dynamics in play here, I mentioned the lion tamer and the lion, but if you answered magician's assistant, it's pretty obvious what you need. You need a magician. I know it sounds a bit corny, or a knife thrower's assistant. If you just like that dynamic, you want to be frozen in that state of tell me what to do. I will be your, servant sounds terrible, but I want to, serve you and be your partner, male or female, in whatever way makes you happy. The ideal partner for a clown is the audience. Clowns love adoration. They fight each other in the show for the affection of the audience. You don't see them fighting for each other's affection. They fight and they look at the audience. They look at me. I'm the star, and they push each other over. And that's what they do in relationships. They want adoration. They want love. But behind the mask, there's something quite deep and thinking and emotional. And often clowns are deep thinkers. Leave me alone when I want to be left alone. But when I'm entertaining and I'm the star of the show in the room or whatever, and I'm larger than life, I want everyone to love me. And they have their ideal partner, which is the audience. In other words, the partner who just supports them and lets them get on with it. It's an interesting fact, which I'm not 100% sure on, but most comedians, real comedians, clowns, don't have comedian partners. They have partners that are just happy to sit in the background and let them shine. So they're supportive, because that's what the audience do. They support. They support with their applause, their adoration. They're buying the tickets to travel, or making sure the insurance is paid in the house, or doing the kind of boring stuff, but doing the stuff that supports the clown to be the star. And these are things that I think when you identify what your role is, you suddenly realize that's what I really need. I need that. And you shouldn't be unselfish. You should be selfish in exactly what you need. If that's what you need a partner that supports you 100%. Trust me, they exist. Yeah. You just need to start fishing in that area.
Right.
And the diagram identifies zones, by the way. It's not just acts. If you're a magician and you can't find a magician's assistant, there's a zone which are numbered, which when you add the two numbers up, if you're within the 10, 11, 12, 9, 8 zone, you could be compatible. It's when you're extremely over adding the numbers. 2 lion tamers will fight each other. 2 lions will lack direction. 2 lions dating will be like, well, who does what? We're both trying to support each other, but it's not enough. What I call underwhelm in a relationship. When you've got 2 people conflicting, like lion tamers, they want, in a business, for example, 2 managers or 2 CEOs very rarely can work with each other within the same business, because someone needs to take leadership. Someone needs to make decisions. And what normally happens is they fight each other. And that's what normally happens in a relationship as well. I mean, I can't date a lion. I'm a ringmaster. I'm a 7. You can't date a lion a lion tamer, because they will try and control you. Whereas a lion, yes, they can support you, but they might not be enough. They'll be a bit whining and a bit clingy, and you need a little bit more.
And I think, Andreas, I think in everything you're saying right now, I don't want people to get confused thinking that opposites attract, because what you're saying is that there's a symbiotic dynamic, but these are all heading in the same direction as far as putting on a show. So in other words, in the relationship space, it would be you still have similar life goals. You have similar core values, because there's things that have to be in alignment. But then at
Absolutely.
the same time, you have someone that if you need the support, you're, using your analogies, yeah, you need that symbiotic relationship that makes sense. And it's such a deep thing. We almost have to have another show on this because it's true. Because when I would coach women who were very type A, running companies and things like that, they wanted to be a power couple. And it's like, that guy is not going to want you. Like, he
No.
doesn't want a woman coming in trying to run the show. I might be like that at work, but I'm not like that at home because it's exhausting and I don't want it. I
Yeah,
don't need
exactly.
that. But my point is that I think people get very confused when we talk about this dynamic and think that, oh, I need to be with someone who's the complete opposite of me. No.
Right.
You can have something that complements one another, but you still need similar life goals. You still, do you want to both have children? Do you guys want to, go to church on Sunday? All the things that are really important to you that are part of your core values, those still need to be in alignment.
Totally agree with that. And that's the bit you have over dinner. After you've asked the question, you've identified compatibility foundation, you then launch into, do you want kids? Do you want to live in LA? Do you want to, do you go to church? Do you play golf every weekend? Am I ever going to see you at the weekend? Kind of stuff that people kind of move in together and then realize, blimey, yeah, why didn't we have this conversation? Exactly. Now, so I'm going to mention something else, by the way. The truth about relationships traditionally were, male, female. The man was the head of the household, the lion tamer, and the woman was the lion and did everything at home, supported, whatever. That's the obvious traditional relationship. Modern relationships are more balanced. Modern relationships. So in the 80s, when men were emasculated and were told to do this, change diapers, to be more kind to your partner, don't open doors, because she can open the door herself. I had that problem once. Men have taken it to the extreme. So, okay, well, you pay for dinner then. And I'm a gentleman. I enjoy treating a woman. I enjoy that. That's me. So I'm very much traditional, but not that traditional. As a ringmaster, I'm a 7, not a 9. So I need a 3, 4 woman who's supportive, but also autonomous and has got some dreams and drives and ambition. And, yes, she'll want to keep the home and do whatever, which is quite traditional. But the acts, for example, the flying trapeze, and I'll give you an example. The flying trapeze is about timing. And it's perfect timing. In other words, they're both equal. They both swing in and swing out. Occasionally, for the show, she'll let go and get caught by she or he, because I get quite a few men saying they let go and get caught, because obviously it works for gay men and lesbians as well. And that's indicative of the partnership. As I said, driving the car, we share leadership. We ask each other questions. We decide. One day I decide where we're going to go for dinner. One day you decide. It's a very much an equal relationship, and that's the balance. So you've got the unequal relationship that is balanced, and you've got the equal relationship that is balanced. So you've got the yin and the yang, but you've also got equality. And it's identifying what's right for you, then look in that area. Certainly, if you're one of the, for example, yourself, do not date the extremes, because those extremes are not underwhelmed, not enough for you, or too much for you. You want people in the middle who understand equality, balance, and certainly your need for balance, which is crucial. We need to be selfish. I often say to people, be selfish, find someone who's equally selfish as you in what they need, and then become selfless and compromise. Compromise on the little things, not the big things. Do not date a guy who says, I'm not sure if I want kids yet. If you want kids, not sure is a red flag. Why are you not sure? Well, I might change my mind. Trust me, he will change his mind. He will say no. In fact, he'll sleep with you He'll tell you he wants kids, and then he'll go, well, now I don't want kids or whatever, make an excuse.
Yeah.
You're right. Values are very important. And that's the interview that your clients do. If you're a matchmaker, you put two people together. Obviously that's the interview you do with your client. You'd match people that are right for them. But if you're going on a date, like you said, if you're on your own devices, and I feel sorry for people that can't afford a matchmaker, because it's a fantastic, fantastic vehicle to have someone do all the work for you. I mean, that's why my pro app is Do It For You app, where you can copy and paste chunks of assessments to clients who can then go, okay, this matchmaker knows me. Hopefully.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it too, because the first match when you're working with a matchmaker is with your matchmaker. If you're gonna butt heads, if there's no compatibility there, it becomes very, very challenging, because it is such a highly emotional industry and you're working with clients. Now, good matchmakers know how to navigate different relationships or personalities, I should say. So they're able to shift into different parts of themselves to deal with a client. But if they don't really know how to do that, it's quite challenging to communicate and everything else.
Because you get looked down upon. If you've got a client that's got, excuse my language, but they've got the big bucks and they used to paying for what they want, they normally think you can buy it. And I don't care who you are, Miss Matchmaker, Mr. Matchmaker, you will give me what I want because I'm paying you. And that arrogance can sometimes be very hard to deal with, because they're expecting a result. And if you give them a bad result the first date, I don't know how you deal with it, because that's hard. If I've paid you $10,000 for you to match me with someone, you've matched me with someone that's totally not my cup of tea, and I've got the privilege of paying for what I want. You have to navigate that, the narcissistic side. No wonder you've got no narcissistic side, because you can't let it go. Your ego cannot come through.
Well, when I was a matchmaker, I would meet with people who would say, I don't want to meet anyone who's not Caucasian. I can't take that personal. Like, it's not my business. This is what the person wants, or whatever. Anything that related to me, you take yourself out of the equation. They might have a different political viewpoint. It's not about you. You're not the person dating them. You're providing a service and they're paying you, but you also have to be clear about whether or not, like in my case, the biggest thing, I didn't care about any of those requirements. If they were not coachable, they were not my client, because I'm a truth teller. And part of one of the best things that happens, whether or not you end up meeting someone, is that you improve your approach to dating, because you're getting feedback that you would normally not get if you're out dating in the wild without getting feedback. People break up, they're like, oh, they make up excuses. No, with matchmaking, the matchmaker gets the feedback and then you get to hear it, and it's positioned in the right way so that it's going to help you. If somebody's complaining about your looks, you can't do anything about it, whatever. It's different. So my point is that I love everything that you shared here today. I think it's great to have that framework, and thank you for talking about the matchmakers being a great service. And I think everybody should have a matchmaker, quite frankly, because I do think that now more than ever we need it, with the change in the social constructs that people have become very individualistic, and they're making their own decisions based on love or whatever the case may be. I think it's just become harder. I think the plethora of choice that's out there creates the paradox of choice with all the apps, and people are exhausted. They're kind of lost. They don't know they don't know how to approach. Men are struggling, so are women, and I just want to help connect people, and I do it through helping matchmakers. But we need this now more than ever. We need parents to be out there matching like the old school way, because they would actually look at the backgrounds of the family and look into the right things to bring people together, not just looks and chemistry.
Fun enough, I'm talking to some Indian matchmakers who do use astrology, the Vedic system of astrology, to match their clients when they get serious, apparently, when they actually go to the point of, oh, well, actually thinking about getting married, they check the charts. And if the charts don't match, some of them take it so seriously, they actually go, well, you're not compatible, and break up. Now, that's painful because you've already bonded. You know, if you're a Western, a South Asian, Western, you know, Westernized Indian, for example, and you've picked your own partner, and then someone says, well, actually, on the compatibility scales, you're not really ideal, it can be difficult, especially when, you know, the culture demands that there's got to be some kind of compatibility that works, tried and tested. So I agree with you. It is so difficult. It's very difficult to identify. You know, I think the root cause is education at school. Mm. One day we will teach kids relationship dynamics and understanding how to navigate relationships at the root cause. You know, I'm a great believer in, you know, a prevention is better than cure. And when I coach my clients, my frustration is that they're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We know that, you know that, we know that Einstein madness definition. Mm-hmm. The thing is, trying to change someone after their 40, 50 years of dating and whatever is very hard. So if we can actually start educating kids at school and helping them, because the reality is we're not trying to abuse kids, or actually, you know, this is the problem with parents. Parents think, I'm not going to have some teacher teaching my kids sex, relationships, you know, they're going to go and get laid, and I'm going to need to get the pill and all. This is the problem with parents. Parents need to understand there has to be a system that we can educate our children. I've got children now, that's going to help them navigate relationships. Mistakes are learning. You have to make mistakes to learn. So nothing's perfect, but let's not make really big ones that give us trauma and hurt people. Let's make people understand about consent and respect. You know, guys, instead of just getting laid and using someone for your own gratification, to have some respect. It's kinder for humanity. And that's what we all want. At the end of the day, I'm not saying put matchmakers out of work, because they'll always exist. But when you've got clients coming to you and saying, this is what I need, help me, because they know what they need, it's much easier, because you're, like you said, you're the coach and the matchmaker. And you're having to try and change their beliefs, their limiting beliefs, from, oh, I'm never going to find the right man. They don't exist. And I'm like, you know why they don't exist? Because you don't want to see them. Yeah. You need to change your mindset. Yeah. Take away that limiting belief. There's somebody for everybody out there. You become, the word manifest is kind of controversial at the moment. I think you only deserve manifestation of the right person if you are worthy. If you're the best version of yourself, you will get the best partner that you deserve. Simple. If you are not the best version of yourself, then why do you deserve someone better than you? And I'm using terminology that probably is controversial, better and worse and whatever. But the reality is, you know, I just feel it's important to be the best version of you attracts the best possible partner. And that's it. If you go for a job, you don't go there and demand a higher paid, higher qualified job than the qualification and the ability that you have. You don't do it. You don't expect it, do you? Expectation is the word I was looking for. There's too many, there's such a great, it's actually entitlement is the word I'm looking for. People feel entitled. The only reason you should feel entitled is if you've done the work on yourself. And that entitlement is actually gratitude for being who you are and who you deserve, rather than entitlement and being angry and frustrated, not just with matchmakers, but with life in general, because you're not going to attract a nice person. You're really not. And that's the lesson I try to help my clients with. And I think if we all did that, it would help. It would help the matchmakers. It would help speed dating. You know, turn up with a smile on your face. Don't turn up with a negative approach. Because, you know, if you go to the gym, you go to there to lose weight and get fit. You don't turn up with a scowl on your face. I hate being here. I'm going to do these weights, but I hate my, you know.
Yeah, your energy definitely is something that you attract people that are on the same vibration. I really do believe that, and there's a lot of science behind that. But this has been an amazing conversation, Andreas. We'll have to do a part two to this. Because I don't know, in the back of my head, I keep thinking maybe Andreas will become a matchmaker. Who knows?
Someone asked me that. Someone actually mentioned that yesterday. The gentleman, I think I mentioned it to you. He said, "Oh, you should become a matchmaker." And I was like, "Look, I would rather help people. Like I said, I've done the one-on-one coaching. I love it. It's very empowering. It's gratifying, but I want to spread the word further. So if I can help people with my certification understand and use my system and framework to help their clients, then get in touch with me. I'm talking to people already. I'm messaging
Let's wait
people.
to contact you.
Yeah. Well, they can contact me through my website, circology.life,
Mhm.
or they can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook, Andreas, the match creator, or just match creator. And I think you've got a few links.
Wonderful.
You've got the app. Yeah. The app at the moment is actually a web browser link. It's not officially in the stores yet. So it's not on Google or in the apps in the Apple stores yet. But when it will be the D2C app. The professional app will only be available directly through the certification. So I think it's important that people are proficient in the system before they actually start applying it. So it's basically support that I'm giving them and teaching them how to use it. Because as I said, there's 50 plus acts.
Mhm.
The last thing you want is monkey trainer. What does that mean? What do I do? Oh my God, got to call Andreas up. What? Because that's what my clients used to do. They used to go to dinner, give me a call. Why are you calling me? It's like 2 a.m. I'm in New York. I'm in a restaurant. I'm with a clown. What do I do? I said, what do you mean you're with a clown? And they, what were you? I'm solo trapeze. And I go, oh my God, run. And they go, okay. How do I figure this stuff out? And the beauty of Circology with the numbering system, it's do it for you. You're able to look at the numbers, add them up, and know you should or you shouldn't. And avoiding toxicity is the key, ladies and gentlemen. Avoid toxicity before you get attached.
Amazing.
That's my final word.
I love it. You got to do your due diligence before you get attached. And thank you so much, Andreas. This has been so enlightening, and I'm excited for you and wishing you
Thank you.
lots of success with this platform. And if any matchmakers or daters or anybody wants to get in touch with you, we will be sharing all the information in the show notes. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Have you ever felt called to help others find love? You might have the heart for matchmaking, but without the right training, turning that passion into a thriving business can feel impossible. Most matchmaking courses give you outdated theories and a certificate, but no real-world strategy to build a successful business. That's where Love Pro Mastermind Academy is different. Our live Done With You training goes beyond theory, helping you develop matchmaking expertise, implement sales and marketing strategies, and master the art of client success. With expert-led instruction, accountability, and a community of like-minded professionals, you'll learn how to identify your niche, attract high-quality clients, create a seamless matchmaking process, grow a sustainable, profitable business. With over a decade of experience, we don't just train matchmakers, we create leaders in the industry. Are you ready to become an LPMA certified matchmaker and build a business that changes lives? Apply today at lovepromastermind.com.
Thank you for tuning in to the Matchmaker Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow matchmakers and friends. For more resources, training, and inspiration, visit lovepromastermind.com and follow us on social media. Remember, matchmaking isn't just a career, it's a calling. Let's keep building connections, changing lives, and growing together. Until next time, stay inspired and keep matching.